Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County. From supporting people with disabilities to enjoy great lives, to providing health care services that are available to anyone, the Resource Center has been improving our county for more than 60 years. Learn more about how the Resource Center makes a positive difference in people's lives. From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Doc Hamels, and happy July. How did that happen? It seems like it was just Memorial Day, and June just flew right by. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all on some kind of a long weekend break and that you can be with family and celebrate the 4th of July in a couple days. The weather's kind of crazy, but we need the rain a little bit. It's the old Camelot theme. If you could have rain at night, it would be perfect, but what are you going to do? Hey, I want to say good afternoon to all my friends wherever you are in the world that are watching right now or catching up with me later in the day here on Access Chautauqua, channel 1301 on Spectrum at 2 and 8 every day of the week. So glad that you could join us. Also, good afternoon to my friends and viewers. No, you're not viewing anything. You're listening on WRFA 107.9, low power to the people. Thanks for listening in. My good friend George Borrello, state senator from our area, representing us in Albany, is my guest today, and he'll be on here shortly. So it's always a interesting and discussion and in-depth look into what's going on in our state. All right, what else we got? We got all kinds of things to talk about today. Let's see where I start. Tarp skunks. They're burning up the place. I think Grady Me, who was here, one of the tarp skunks that was here a couple weeks ago, I see he's in the paper quite a bit. He's doing really, really well. Scoring, I guess he's one of the higher scorers for the team in the league. They've been, I don't know how many in a row they've won. It's really cool. I promised them I would announce the schedule for the following week. And so the only home game that they have this coming week is the 4th of July. And that's going to be at 2 o'clock, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I forgot what they're going to do on that particular day. But anyway, so this week they're going to be playing, where'd it go? Elmira, the Elmira Pioneers. How's that? So we'll continue to talk about the Tarp Skunks because, well, after all, I'm part of the team. I have my own baseball card. Did you know that? Yeah, I'm I'm so happy. All right. And because today is the 1st of July, that means that we are starting our 10th season. I can't believe that. Today is the 466th show we've done. How's that? It's hard to believe. The team and I have been working together now for 9 years, starting our 10th year together today. So we've got to do something special for our 10th year. I don't know. Think about it, guys. What do you want to do? Want to go somewhere? well,
We have a 4th of July parade to film.
oh, that's right.
Celebrate.
All right. That's true. Speaking of the 4th of July, Chris, Burt, and company, we're going to all be over in Mayville on the 4th of July. The parade starts at 10 o'clock with a boom boom, the cannon of some sort. And you going to be there? Yeah. Okay, of course you'll be there. Of course. All the guys that are elected are there that day. But that's a good thing because people like to visit with you and stuff. So we're going to be announcing the parade, narrating the parade. I don't know, what do you call it? I've done it. What's that? I'm seeing the parade. Thank you. I've done it 10 years now. And my good friend Rick Mascaro is going to be my sidekick. Once again, we have a lot of fun. And I keep him with me because he knows all about cars. I know they move and they drive and you start them and that, but he knows models and years and things like that. There's always so many good vintage-looking cars there. So the 4th of July in Mayville, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Although I don't have my graphic for this, which is okay, my Rotary Club, the Westfield Mayville Rotary Club, is having a special raffle. It's a summer beach package, and there's a Yeti cooler involved, and they're going to be selling raffle tickets right up to July 7th, and they're going to be selling them at the first Friday in Westfield, and they're going to be selling them amongst friends and folks in the area. So if you know anybody from the Westfield Mayville Rotary Club, check them out. $5 for a ticket or $5 for 20. All right. Also, I want to remind you, because I am an actor. It took years to convince me of that, but they finally make me say those words. I'm an actor over at the Lakeshore Center for the Arts. But a friend of mine, Jill Keating, who I was in a show with months ago anyways, she and some other folks are putting on a dinner theater at Webb's. And I encourage you to check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And she's going to be here, I think, in person next week. And so we hope to see her then. Also, I hope you've been enjoying this past week, Oak Island Plus. That is a production that I've been working with Jim McQuiston with, and we're going to be filming our 3rd episode for that video podcast Monday, and then we'll be putting it online in the middle of the month. So we got some really fun things, and if you're an Oak Island fan, this is a great historical sidekick to the Curse of Oak Island, and it's produced right here in Chautauqua County. All right. Oh, do you know what else is today? Today is Dominion Day. I had to do a little research on it. To July 1st, 1867, Canada became Canada as a country. And I want to wish happy Dominion Day to my cousins up in Canada. I know you say, well, how is it possible that you're Canadian connected? Well, when my grandmother and her brothers came from Ireland, they settled up in the Hamilton area. My grandmother continued down into Buffalo somehow, and her brother stayed in the Hamilton. So I actually have a whole slew of cousins up in Canada that we used to go and visit. So happy Dominion Day.
Where don't you have your relatives?
We're everywhere. All right, and that's with my Irish side. All right, let's see, what else I got here? I think I covered everything. So I want to go to someone right now that's waiting to my left who's hit another mile mark in his career as a cyclist, Jeff Zook. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Well, you called in last week, and you hit a milestone for your own career on bike.
Yeah, it was my 10th year for the Ride for Roswell. So it was kind of exciting, a little emotional, as Ride for Roswell always is for me. One, my mom's buried in the cemetery.
I remember
The medical science department interred her body there after she donated her remains to science. Mm-hmm. So it's a little emotional there. And then riding for my wife that I lost several
Kathy.
years ago.
Yeah.
Kathy, great person.
So cancer has has played its role in your life and your family as many of ours. So what's the whole deal with the Ride for Roswell?
Well, the thing about the Ride for Roswell is it's a long-standing ride that raises money for Roswell Park. Chris, yep, there you go. Thank you so much. This is Friday night. It's the Peloton. It starts at Roswell Park Hospital, where they do a lot of cancer research. They're actually getting into they're getting away from the chemicals. They're getting into the
Nutrition and other
nutrition and
Holistic kind of
genetics
stuff.
and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff there.
Right.
So they start out Friday night. They bring it up to. Chris is going a little fast on my pictures here, but they bring it up to. They bring it up to UB Center. It's about a 12-mile slow ride Friday night across Buffalo. Channel 2's there, 97 Rock's there. All kinds of people are there from the media and everything else.
There you are.
And there I am at Clarence Center. My ride this year was 45 miles.
Oh, you called us at the 30-mile mark.
Yeah, that was way over on the other side.
Yeah, and you were riding with your brother, right?
Yes, I was riding with my brother. There he
There
is,
all in pink.
all in pink, saving the boobies, loving the tatas.
Yeah, for breast cancer, of course. Yeah.
Yes, breast cancer. He represented breast cancer this year.
Oh, there's the best sight in the whole ride. The
Absolutely.
finish line. Yep. You know, and I had the pleasure of riding with you for 4 years, 2017 through 2020, and I think that was the 25th year. So this has got to be like the 28th year or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I rode for the 20th. That was, I think, in 2019. So.
Yep. So how many riders? About 7,000? 8,000?
Usually it averages about 8,000. There's probably about 1,500 volunteers and service workers, including EMS, other fire department members, sheriffs, state police. Sometimes I didn't see any state police here this year,
But they're helping at the crossing of the streets and things
Yes.
like that. Those rides go everywhere.
yeah, I went through. My ride started at Buffalo. Went out through Swarmsville, Clarence Center, all the way out to Akron Falls State Park.
Wow.
We went north from there for a little bit. I did have a map, but I don't.
Yeah, that's
It
okay.
didn't come out. It didn't come in. But then we zigzagged our way back through Swarmsville and back to the north entrance of the UB campus.
Right. And how much money did they raise this year?
Well, when I called you, it was
Yeah.
$5.4 million. That was last week. At Sunday night, I saw that they had raised $5.6 million.
Wow, that's terrific.
And but the thing about it is, 5.6 is only what they raised. When they turn that in and get their other funding and everything else, they increase that
Foundations and things.
by 23 times this year.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's 100 million plus.
absolutely, exactly,
That's
and
terrific.
it all stays here.
Awesome.
I can't say for sure how it all goes, but a lot of it, and probably most of it stays here in Western New York for Roswell research and patient care and protocol. Developing new protocols and all kinds of stuff. But the people at the Ride for Roswell and the support from the community is just amazing.
Well, Jeff Zook, our engineer here, we're proud of you and congratulations on your 10th ride. I would be there, but I don't know. I just haven't gotten back on my bike. So we're going to get on to other things, but thank you for coming in
Sure.
and letting us know about
Sure.
all that. So interesting report. So congratulations.
Thank you much.
Okay, take care. All right, folks, we've got some other announcements that we're going to go to right now. And basically, I just want to let you know that if you are interested in music on certain nights, we have at the Mayville Park starting, well, there's already been one, but starting July 6th through August 31st, every week there's going to be different bands in the park. And they have like a 50-50 raffle. They have, the food trucks and all that stuff. And I'm pleased to tell you that my band will be playing July 27th the fifth week, and we were asked as one of the premier bands to come back. So we're very proud of that. So anyways, if you want to check out the dates, go to the Mayville Chautauqua Chamber of Commerce, and they have all the dates of all the bands. And my friends, I see Osborne Nash are going to be playing there at the end of the summer. But every one of these groups are awesome, and if you haven't had a chance to check out them, go support live music. It's where things are at. And I think I know about 2/3 of these folks. So all great people. All right, going on as we speak is the Heron Farm and Event Center over in Sherman, New York, otherwise known as the Great Blue Heron Festival, Music Festival. And so that's going on there. Lilydale is celebrating the 4th of July, and they're going to have fun and excitement as they celebrate America's independence. And they have a lineup which will keep you entertained from start to finish. They're going to have incredible performance by, of course, a paranormalist, an illusionist, and a mentalist, David Merlin. And he's going to be prepared to be amazed as he showcases his unbelievable skills that will leave you in awe. So that's at Lilydale this weekend. Gosh, cool things. Cherry Creek has an annual Independence Day celebration this weekend over in the Cherry Creek ball field, and I've been pleased to be able to play out there over the years in their park. But they're going to have Midway Amusements, food and craft vendors this weekend, beer and wine and tasting and so forth. They got a classic car cruise and things of this nature. Today they're going to have bands, alpacas, a chicken barbecue, a live auction, just music by Wasted Whiskey, and fireworks. Everywhere's going to be fireworks this weekend. You know, the pandemic is over. They officially said it was over. It's hard to believe it ever was here when you think about it. It seems like a bad dream. But it seems like everything is just coming back to more normal again. Tomorrow you got the Panther Prowl, which is a Pine Valley alumni reunion and so forth. You got Bus Bicentennial Super Late Model Race at State Line today over at State Line Speedway. That's going on. Dunkirk 4th of July celebration in Memorial Park. That's going on, and they've got things going on today, throughout the day. Tomorrow, 4th of July, they had the band Zen City, Furious George, Classic Rock All-Stars, and of course, fireworks. Mayville 4th of July celebration we just talked about. We're going to have I think it's one of the longest standing parades in New York State, and we'll be announcing that and filling you information. And if you can't make the parade, you can watch this over and over again on YouTube because they post it, so it's always fun. See what's going on there. Well, we got Lakewood has their 4th Summerfest and fireworks on the 4th of July, and they're going to have vendors and crafters along the avenue, music by Quister, fireworks display at 10. 4th of July celebration in Findlay Lake. What are they doing? Let's see, features all day fun for the family. Gosh, there's too much here. I can't make it all. The celebration from from noon to 10 p.m. at Findlay Lake. There'll be a duck race. That sounds like fun. A boat parade, chicken barbecue, flare lighting, and fireworks. And if you haven't ever seen flare lighting along the lakes, it's gorgeous. They do that along Chautauqua Lake over the years. Bemis Point, they're not going to be left behind. They're in the middle of the beautiful Chautauqua Lake for Bemis Point 4th of July fireworks show. They're doing a fundraiser for the fireworks display, and every dollar helps. So if you want to throw in a couple bucks, give them some help there. Woo! So they're going to do their thing at 10 o'clock. Let's see, what else we got? First Fridays in Westfield. They're doing something a little different. They're closing the street. They're just, it's going to be one big party, I guess. First Fridays in Westfield will be even bigger and better for the remainder of the season as the Chamber of Commerce has secured a permit from the New York State Department of Transportation to close a portion of Route 20 in the village during the event. This will allow for even more vendor participation and make the experience safer and more walkable for all guests. Okay, so starting July 7th through October, they're going to be closing down the street, and you'll be able to hang out and just, wow, it sounds like a lot of fun. So anyways, that's coming up July 7th. And then there's going to be a mural tomorrow, Sunday, and then we're all done here at 4 p.m. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. in the parking lot of Community Bank in front of a big mural that is all about Westfield. There'll be free food, cake, and music by Rich Siri, great musician. We were hoping they're hoping to have a lot of Westfield come out to celebrate this wonderful work of art the Lakeshore Center for the Arts has gifted to the community. They have a wonderful benefactor, Joan Caruso, Caruso, who is my fellow actress that works with me, along with a GoFundMe, private donations, grants, monies came together to pay for this great mural. And Lakeshore Center for the Arts is pursuing more public art installations and looks for donations to help out. So if you're interested, go to lakeshorecenterforthearts.com for more information. Okay, we're going to take a little breather. We'll be right back. My guest is waiting anxiously to tell you all about Albany. Stay tuned.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
Here we go. All right, we're back, and my guest today is New York State Senator George Borrello, and welcome back, George. You've been here a few times.
Yes, going back to my days as county executive.
Yeah. And it's always a pleasure to have you here because, well, you tell it like it is. You explain things in good detail so we understand. Not that others didn't, but I mean you do. And I enjoy you being here. We've developed a good friendship over the years.
Absolutely.
George, one of the things that I don't know is clear to people sometimes, because we see Andy Goodell's picture in the paper, and then we see your picture in the paper. And sometimes you're talking about the same topic, sometimes you're talking about different things. So what do you do? What does Andy do that's different or the same, or how's that work? Because he's an assemblyman.
Yes.
And you're a senator. So what's that? What's the difference?
So I remember distinctly when I was on this show a couple years ago, I used the term bicameral, and you did not remember that you didn't.
Yes, I remember that, bicameral.
So bicameral. So we have two, which means we have two houses in the state legislature, the Senate and the Assembly. Now, typically, when you have a bicameral legislature, one house is done strictly by population, and the other is typically done like the United States Senate, where you have two senators for every state, and you have other states that do something similar, where it's not based on population necessarily. However, in New York, both the Senate and the Assembly are done by population. The Senate has larger districts. My district, the new 57th Senate District, after redistricting, consists of 5 counties. It's about 5,000 square miles. Chautauqua County, Cattaraugus, the western half of Allegheny County, Genesee County, and Wyoming County. So I kind of surround Erie County to the south and the east, but nothing in Erie County. So, and Assemblyman Andy Goodell's district is all of Chautauqua County and a little bit, or I should say, a significant portion of the Seneca Nation of Indians as well. And I also represent the Seneca Nation.
But there's a lot more assemblymen.
Yes, there's 150 members of the Assembly, and there are 63 members of the Senate.
Wow.
So there are differences in the way that we do things. And I think the benefit of having two houses is the fact that because it has to pass both houses, when you pass a law, it has to be the Senate and the Assembly, the exact same bill, every single word.
Really?
And because of that, it does cause some pause in a good way, that oftentimes we will debate a bill in the Senate, and we will bring up some what we consider to be flaws, unintended consequences, whatever, in that debate. And then oftentimes that will, when it gets to the Assembly, sometimes those things will be addressed, and then it has to go back for an amendment and so forth. In fact, better than half of the bills that we address every year in the New York State Senate are what they call chapter amendments. A chapter amendment is a change to the bill because of any number of reasons. But oftentimes it's because of the debates that occur in either house that flush out the potential changes that are needed. So it is important, in my opinion, to have two houses for that reason.
Mm-hmm. So now in the U.S. Congress, the House of Representatives proposes a bill, and then it goes to the Senate, but the Senate can change it.
They can, but if they do, it has to go back to the House.
Oh, so it still goes back.
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right.
In fact, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, when the House of Representatives proposed this $600 a week kicker for unemployment, I lobbied our federal officials and said, this is a problem. This is going to be a problem. It's going to cause massive inflation. It's going to cause a huge workforce issue. And and then when it went to the federal, from the House of Representatives to the Senate, I appealed to our senators and said that we need to change this. And the answer was, well, if we change it, then it has to go back to the House. And they didn't want to delay that. They didn't want to delay that money getting out there. So a good reason, I understand. But I will say that it did indeed do what I suspected.
There were consequences, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So how is it I get a picture of you and my cousin Chuck Ravino, who lives in Batavia?
Yes, yes.
So do you cover Batavia as well?
Yes, that is.
Oh my gosh.
Batavia is Genesee County. Yeah, wasn't that great?
Oh my
yeah,
God.
Yeah.
I get this picture, and here's my cousin I haven't seen some time, and he was my mentor when I was growing up. I think he's about 12 years older than I am. He was in special education, worked for the school, Batavia School for the Blind, and we would talk about my career, and he would give me suggestions, and he was involved with state ed, and I ended up involved with state ed over the years as well. So were you at a fundraiser or something?
No, actually, I think it was a charity event of some kind.
Okay.
And he came up to me and he said, "You live in Chautauqua County. Do you know Doc Hamels?" I'm like, "You're damn right, I know Doc Hamels." So that was great. And I will say that is the wonderful part about this job. Yeah. I travel all over, and I end up meeting people that know people.
Yeah.
In fact, you just brought up Rick Mascaro and Joan Caruso, his sister, right?
Yeah.
Joan Caruso was my English teacher in high school.
Oh my God!
And
those circles just keep going.
Yeah, exactly. What a great lady, and I'm glad to hear that she's sponsored that.
And she and I were in a play together, and it was actually two, but primarily in one that we did love letters together, just two of us on stage, and it was just a great experience. She's so talented.
She's a great lady.
And speaking of circles, you folks right now that are listening live, you can give us a call at 753-5225. 753-5225. If you have a comment or question for me or my guest, you can, announce a chicken barbecue or something that's going on with your club or organization. But if you have a question for my guest, as you know, there's one ground rule. Be nice, okay? Or else you get the button. We are civil here on this show. I'm not those shock jock types that like stirring the pot. We want to have a civil, kind conversation about whatever it is we're discussing. Fair enough?
Thank you.
Unless you want to fight with them, I don't.
No, I have to do that enough. This is a little bit of reprieve from that.
Okay, great. So. One of the things that I asked you about before the show was anything that people should be aware of that starts today, new laws or laws that have gone into effect recently or probably will be going into effect that we should know that affect our daily lives.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few. One of the bills that passed that I'm not a fan of was nicknamed Clean Slate. And this is to seal the criminal records of folks after a certain period of time. And this means that if you're going to hire someone, you will not know if they have a criminal background. Now, I will say this: I believe in a second chance. And I will tell you that. You know that my wife and I own businesses. We own restaurants, and we have in the past employed people, formerly incarcerated individuals, people who have been caught up with the law.
Yeah.
But we went into that with full knowledge. So when I say I believe in a second chance, I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk. However, this bill just goes too far, and the fact that it seals the records of even violent felonies like domestic violence. It also, if you have multiple violent offenses, it still seals those records. So. And I don't want to scare people. But I do want. I think it's important that people know that this is the kind of stuff that happens in Albany. And while I understand that there is a need to seal records in certain cases. Look, if you made a mistake when you were a young person, that's following you around. I agree.
Yeah.
And there's already a process for that. We already have a process. You can apply.
Offender status.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you can also apply even as an adult. You can apply to have your record sealed. If let's just say you had a marijuana conviction when you were 19, and now you're 30 years old and you have a hard time, getting a job because that's continuous to follow you. There's already a process for that. So those that feel that that's the issue, it's not the issue. So that's a bill. I don't want to go into a lot of detail.
Let me address that real quick because I don't have. Good or bad, if anybody's hiring somebody, there's ways to find out information. And if you're not doing your due diligence to get reference checks or you have concern about somebody, all you got to do is get on the internet, put the person's name in there, and you see their convictions or whatever. And I'm a firm believer, and I've done this with second chances, big time. I've known people that, like you said, have been arrested and incarcerated, did stupid things when they were young, and now they regret it. Give them a second chance. But I'm concerned about the repeat offenders that are that real high end, serious, violent stuff.
Yes.
And are there any categories that aren't covered by that?
There's if you were convicted of a sex crime,
Right.
that's not the case. And if anywhere that you have to get federal fingerprints. Okay. Now that's a very small number.
Right.
I think that, look, if you're working a bank and you have a conviction for embezzlement, that will now be sealed, and that bank's not going to know. That's just one example.
But again, you could go to the internet and you could find those court cases are all
well,
out there.
but with the sealing though, the records, that's not going to be there. In fact, in one of the things,
No, what I'm saying, you look up Post-Journal and you put in
Somebody's
Hamels.
name.
If Hamels got arrested for embezzlement of the First National Bank, it's there.
in there, yeah.
Whether or not it shows that you were actually ended up in jail or was somehow it was expunged or whatever, but you can find out stuff.
But here's the problem with that. There is now, they create a private right of action. So let's say you do that. Let's say clean slate.
You're giving me a problem here.
Yeah. So let's say you do that. Let's say, you know
Now
what?
I'm discriminating against it.
Yes. Now, you know what? So now you could be sued by that person. If you say, look, I know that the records are sealed, but I found out that you were convicted of embezzlement, 12 years ago, whatever it is, and now that's the reason why you didn't get the job. Even, by the way, you don't even have to say that. The person can still sue and say, I bet that guy Googled my name and found out that I was convicted of embezzlement, so now I'm going to sue him. So
is this part of the law?
This is part of the new law.
Oh.
It creates what's called a private right of action. I vote against every law that has a private right of action. What that does, it just fuels unnecessary lawsuits in New York State, and we already have too many lawsuits. So you doing what you just said, that common sense step of, hey, I'm just going to Google this person. I'm going to see if I can find anything else that might negatively impact, their, the working environment, and that would now put you in a position of being sued.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know that. All right, we have a phone call right off the bat. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning. I was wondering what Mr. Borrello's position is, or maybe he could expand his position on the windmill turbines that are popping up all over the county that are, I think, a complete waste of time.
Well, they're more than a waste of time. They're a waste of money. They are a waste of taxpayer money, and they are a blight on our community. I think you probably know that I've fought the wind turbines, whether it be on land or in the water. They want to put them in Lake Erie. This is a bad idea. Wind turbines on land, let's talk about that for a second. We have so many other ways to generate clean, green electricity. And if someone wants to put a small windmill on their farm or on their house, that's not obstructive. But to create these monstrosities is really it's eating up our farmland, as are the solar fields. They have negative human health impacts. All those things that, in the end, are saying the ends justify the means. I'm opposed to that. In other words, whether it's wind turbines in the water, like what's going on in Long Island, where you're seeing these all these whales wash up on shore, the fact that they're overriding home rule, they're overriding local control, they're overriding local zoning laws, all those things that said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we're destroying natural habitats. It doesn't matter if we're killing animals. It doesn't matter if we're contaminating water. We're saving the planet here. The whole idea that we should justify destroying our environment to save the planet is just a fallacy. And in the end, this is just a big investment scam.
Caller, is that...
What is the story? I'm sorry. What is the story with the wind turbines that are at the thruway exits that never run?
Yeah, that's a good question. I asked that question. In fact, in the budget debate, when I was talking to the commissioner of the Thruway Authority, I said, how much money did this waste? And he wouldn't answer the question. Because, the Thruway Authority doesn't have to answer any questions. Any authority doesn't have to answer any questions. And because they were saying, we have to raise the tolls because starting in 2026, we're going to have a $45 million deficit. I said, really? I said, well, you put all those wind turbines
that sit there
just sit there nothing. What did that cost the Thruway Authority? He wouldn't answer the question.
Oh, boy.
We sued and we lost. Yes, because you made a bad decision to buy wind turbines from a foreign company who, once the things
that's the answer.
Yes, they went bankrupt. They went bankrupt. So yeah.
So nobody can.
Nobody. They can, and I guarantee you, I don't know what it costs, but I guarantee it's more than $45 million. So that's just part of my opinion, I guess.
Okay, caller. Anything else? Okay.
I guess not. Okay. Thank
All
you
right,
for calling in.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned there is good green energy. I think you said that. Did you say that?
There is. I said that. Yeah, there is. There's good green energy.
So what is good green energy?
Hydroelectric power.
Okay.
Upstate New York. Here's the thing about New York State.
Yes, sir.
We're already green. Upstate New York, almost 90% of our power is generated through renewable energy, largely hydroelectric power. However, the NYSERDA, the other New York State agencies do not consider hydroelectric power to be renewable. New York State has become one-trick ponies. It's all about wind and solar. If you start talking about green hydrogen, nope, we don't want to talk about that because we talked about that during the Climate Action Council. You start talking about expanding hydroelectric power, nope, we don't want to talk about that. That doesn't count. What does count as renewable energy for New York State? Wind and solar. That's it. We don't want to talk about nuclear power.
Who's they that don't want
So that would be, first of all, the Climate Action Council. I debated this. Now, these are the people that were put in place because of the Climate Community Leadership Protection Act, the CLCPA. This is the bill that passed before I was in the Senate that has created all these crazy rules that we're going to ban natural gas. We're going to shut down reliable forms of energy, cancel pipelines, shut down power plants. All those things that have happened, that is all based on that CLCPA. That created the Climate Action Council. The Climate Action Council created a scoping plan. It was made up of 21 people, only 3 of which represented the energy industry. The rest were all, in my opinion, radical environmentalists or people that worked for the governor. And this is the basis for all the things we're seeing now. This push to to eliminate natural gas, which in Western New York will be very devastating. That we're going to basically shut down everything that is not what they consider to be renewable energy. 2 years ago, I published a op-ed in the Buffalo News where I talked about alternatives to this mass push to blanket upstate New York, particularly here in Western New York, with wind and solar projects, and talked about a lot of things. Number one being expanding hydroelectric power. We should be looking at
We're
those
talking like
alternatives.
Niagara Falls.
Yeah,
type
yeah.
thing.
The Niagara Power Project is big, but also let's not forget we have hundreds and hundreds of reservoirs and dams in New York State that are all in disrepair, almost all of them, that all need, they're called deferred maintenance. They could very well be turned into small hydroelectric
Why
plants.
not?
Yeah,
Water
absolutely.
runs.
Yes. We have, if you look at all of the landfills that we have, they all emit methane. You fire that off. Those could be turned, that can be scrubbed, that methane can be scrubbed and can be turned into renewable natural gas.
We were doing that here in the county.
Yes,
right?
yeah. We were first. We had the methane plant, which created electricity itself, and then there was a move to convert that, so you can just put it right into the regular natural gas pipeline. But again, the radicals that are running this, the climate socialists, as I like to call them, they don't like that idea. They don't like the idea of renewable natural gas. Hydrogen, green hydrogen, that's another one. They don't like that either.
Well, tell me about green hydrogen. That's a new one to me.
Yeah, so hydrogen can be done. Obviously, you're just splitting up water molecules to make hydrogen. But this is something. There's actually a green hydrogen plant in my district. It's called Plug Power, and they are. It's being built right now up in Genesee County, and you can see. And they're actually going to be creating green renewable hydrogen. Right there on that, that site.
All right. So,
but that's not. By the
I
way,
have a
that
basic
doesn't count.
understanding of hydrogen. All right.
Yeah.
So you take water and you split it.
Yeah.
All right. So through a chemical physical
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
All right. So you make hydrogen gas, and then what happens to the gas?
Then the gas is used to just do like any other power plant. It powers a turbine to create electricity.
Gotcha.
So just like natural gas does, and other forms. So that's and also it can be used for other things. You can. Again, liquefied hydrogen can be used just like natural gas. All these great technologies that are out there, but don't fit the profile of wind and solar. That's what tells me this is just, it's about the green credits, it's about all of these big corporations, foreign companies that are profiting off of wind and solar.
It would seem to me that there's a room for everybody, for
would think.
everything. And so if you had a quilt of different resources, so if you don't have hydroelectrical outlets in a particular area, maybe solar is a good fit. If there's not enough to do that, then maybe the hydrogen is better. I mean, it would seem like everybody should come to the table, not just certain ones.
Well, yeah. I mean, look. I think we all want clean air and clean water.
For sure.
Okay. All right. And but the reality is that where we're headed in New York is not that. We are not headed toward creating a future renewable energy that's going to be reliable and affordable for everyone. We are just literally on this death spiral to ending reliable forms of energy in New York State, and that's really concerning, and it should concern everyone. Natural gas, at the very least, could be used as a bridge fuel. It's much lower in emission than coal, and New York's now importing more power than it ever has, and so much of that power comes from dirty, old-fashioned coal plants in other states.
Okay, now my concern these days is that we don't have enough electricity.
You're right.
And every time I turn on the television, another car company comes out with 2 more models of electrical powered cars, which is fine because it's clean energy. But if we look across the country and they're having brownouts and power outages and things like that, I don't.
We're gonna have a problem in New York State, and by the way, the New York State, the independent system operators, they've already told us that. They've already told us that we do not have the capacity on the grid, that we do not have the capacity of energy generation, and that there's never been a cost-benefit analysis. There's never been a risk analysis of this push for green energy. So yeah, this is going to be a big problem in New York, and that's where this is why we're trying to sound the alarm. That New York State does not have the grid. The grid is aging and failing. There's really been no attention paid to the grid. The fact that we are reducing and not increasing our energy production, shutting down nuclear plants and so forth, and other things. We shut down. Look at Dunkirk. Yeah. That was a plant that was generating electricity more, by the way, that were coming out of that plant than you can generate by blanketing all of Western New York with wind and solar panels. It will not match what they made just in Dunkirk.
Okay. This is what we used to call in education the shotgun approach.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another caller.
Sure.
Okay, good morning, caller.
Good morning, Doc. Good morning, George. It's so great to see you on the show.
Thank you, Linda. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about George.
Well, it's great to see both of you on the show. It's great. I have a question. I don't know if this is true. It's about hydropower and electricity. Is it true that that the electricity generated in Niagara Falls, the recipients that are further away than we are pay a lower rate? Is that true?
I don't know for sure, but I can tell you that the Niagara Power Project creates low-cost energy. And that is used, on the good side, it is used to provide low-cost power to startup industries, things like that. So it really depends on how that has been negotiated. We have the same thing, by the way, with the Jamestown BPU, and we have other small public utilities that provide low-cost energy to help encourage economic development and also make it more affordable, for seniors and others. But then there's the bad side of that, and the bad side of that is that so much of the electricity that's generated at this low price by the Niagara Power Project that money is used by the New York Power Authority to subsidize the purchase of these wind turbines and solar panels, because people think, wind is the sun is free, the wind is free. No, generating electricity through wind and solar is much more costly. So how does that work? Because these giant industrial projects, industrial wind and solar, just put electricity into the grid. Okay, so how do you generate electricity at this price and then sell it on the market at this price? You do that by that difference being covered by government. And typically it's by the New York Power Authority and that profit from the New York Power Project. So that's the real issue. The real issue, in my opinion, is that we are subsidizing wind and solar every time an electron is generated, typically with taxpayer money, forever. they sign what are called power purchase agreements. Sometimes they're 25, 30 years, where for 25 or 30 years, a government taxpayer-funded entity or entity like the New York Power Authority with their profit from the New York Niagara Power Project and other hydroelectric power projects are subsidizing forever the electricity that's generated by wind and solar.
Does that answer your question, Lynn?
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, Niagara Falls is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful entity along with our Niagara Power Project.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, and I don't want to interrupt your discussion.
Okay.
And have a wonderful weekend, and happy 4th of July.
Same to you,
Happy
Lynn.
4th of July.
And thanks for the question. That was a good question.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's just circle back on two things. So where do you see residential solar?
So here's the idea that someone's going to put it on their house. I think that's fine. If somebody, if you want to, and there are government subsidies for that. Quite frankly, rather than giving billions and billions of dollars to build some disruptive, expensive industrial project, I would much rather see someone put solar panels on their house, or like I said, a small wind turbine. That there's the concept of microgrids. That to me is a good thought.
Okay.
It's not disruptive, but in fact, if we spent all that money to help people do those things, in the end, that would probably be, it would generate more electricity. It would reduce the strain on our grid, right? Because putting all this energy into the grid when we don't have a grid that can sustain it is a problem. Versus someone directly powering their home or business or farm from the wind and solar on their own property would be great. That I think would help reduce the strain, but that doesn't put money in the pockets of, corrupt politicians and foreign companies and big Wall Street LLCs that are all profiting at the expense of the taxpayers with these projects.
Okay, super. And then I wanted to circle back on, we were saying that there's, and I read about this in the paper, and I scratched my head about this, is the idea that they're going to do away with natural gas appliances by a certain date. And I see it keeps getting defeated and pushed further into the future. So, I don't know what percentage of people cook with natural gas, but I cook in my house, and I like natural gas. I can really control my cooking and things of this nature. Our furnace is on there, hot water.
Yep.
So, what's the thinking? There's other fuels, and I won't go there, but natural gas works well for me.
It does. It works well for most people in Western New York, and most people in Western New York are opposed to this push. So we've been going back and forth on this. During the budget process, I had a discussion with Richard Ball, who is the commissioner. This was a hearing, during a hearing, the commissioner of Ag and Markets, and I said, how is agriculture going to survive without natural gas? How are we going to dry grains? How are we going to heat greenhouses? How are we going to keep animals warm? All those other things that require natural gas. And he agreed that there should be an exemption. Well, in her 30-day amendment, the governor actually, in her 30-day budget amendment, she actually put in an exemption for agriculture. We made similar arguments for commercial food operations, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a food processor. Again, an exemption was put into the budget. Okay. We pushed back on this whole idea of banning natural gas stoves and natural gas appliances. The governor walked that back. But my colleagues, mostly based in New York City, are continuing to push the other way. So we do have, in 2025, you will no longer be able to build a new structure using natural gas, and that's going to be a problem. There's this narrative that, you use heat pumps to heat your house, and that'll be more effective. Well, I just did a tour of ECR in Dunkirk. Dunkirk Radiator, Dunkirk Boiler. They're the largest in the world for producing. They produce electric power and natural gas powered boilers, and they told me what a disaster this is going to be if we can't use natural gas. And the fact that, and again, they can sell either. In fact, they make a lot of money on selling electric-based ones, but the fact that the conversion is going to be not only incredibly expensive, but likely impossible for a lot of people. But that doesn't seem to bother my colleagues that are pushing this. So this is a real thing. There was a federal court case. Berkeley, California tried to ban natural gas, and they lost in court, in federal court. I'm certain there will be a similar lawsuit here in New York State. But the fact that we have to go to court to explain to our legislators, who are supposed to ensure that we have reliable, affordable forms of energy here, and not have this big government push. Well, it's the fact that they don't understand that, and the governor doesn't understand that, is really troubling.
I'm trying to understand the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's probably a whole show unto itself, I would think,
Yes.
just to go back and to dig into the thinking behind that. I maybe in a major metropolitan city, maybe it makes sense. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. You know, over the years, I know in my own career, you know, what we did in Western New York and here in Chautauqua County was so out of whack with the rest of the state thinking, and it's like two different worlds. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll leave it there. Okay.
That sounds good. We can leave it there.
But let's go to a couple more topics that we've been talking
Sure.
about right along. The situation with marijuana. All right. Last time you told me it was just a disaster waiting to happen because they did not identify the various products that marijuana could be used in, and edibles and so forth. And then the next time I think we talked that no place had been actually licensed to dispense it, and even though there was a legislation to do it, and there was no overseeing body to look at this, where are we at? I mean, people still can use marijuana legally after a certain age, and you can buy it, but can you sell it? I mean, what's the deal?
Well, this has been an abject failure. I don't know if this. And by the way, now many of my Democrat colleagues agree with me, and they're saying so publicly. The Office of Cannabis Management was created in March of 2020. Here we are. 2021. So here we are 2 years later, and there's just a handful of dispensaries that have been licensed. I met with with cannabis growers who are desperate because of how far behind. And,
they invested in
yes,
it.
Yes, they're we just passed a law this year to allow the growers, farmers that have invested all this money. They have just warehouses full of marijuana that they can't sell legally. So now we passed a law to allow them to sell it to the native territories that are already selling marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've seen.
Right.
I don't think that's going to work, because why would they buy it from somebody who's paying all these taxes when they can grow it on their own territories and not have to pay any of those taxes? I voted for it if it might help.
Mm-hmm.
It's a better quality, I would imagine. I'm not an expert, that's for sure. But here's the thing: this was nothing but a virtue signaling law that was poorly crafted from the beginning. I said 2 years ago, this is going to be a disaster. This is going to be a disaster.
You told me that right
yes,
here.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it is now universally accepted as being an unmitigated disaster. New York is a national embarrassment in the way that it has rolled out its recreational marijuana, and it's not getting any better anytime soon. You've seen these sticker shops, they call them, all over. Well, but you buy a sticker, you buy a T-shirt, and you get a free bag of marijuana.
Right.
Now they're saying they're going to crack down on them, but they really haven't cracked down on them. The governor said a few forceful words here and there, but and then when it comes to the native territories, look at this they are independent nations. They can sell them. They can sell marijuana. But the question is, why now? They could have done this 30, 40 years ago when they started selling gas and cigarettes tax-free. Why all of a sudden did they almost overnight start springing up all over the place? It's because of the poor way that New York State government created this law and passed this law.
They saw their opportunity.
Yes. They decriminalized the possession of illegal marijuana. Now think about that. You want to create a legal market for legal recreational marijuana, and what's the first thing you do? Day one, you decriminalize the possession of illegal marijuana. That's what created this whole cottage industry that you're seeing, whether it's sticker shops in virtually every community in New York State, or the dispensaries you're seeing on native territory. All that sprung up overnight because of the poorly crafted law that New York State legislature passed and the governor signed, and now it's just not getting any better.
Oh boy. And they did not delineate what was appropriate when we talked about edibles and gummy
Yes.
bears and all this.
You can literally consume marijuana anywhere in New York State, and I mean anywhere. There is no place that's illegal. The only thing that is against the law is you cannot smoke it in places where smoking is banned. Now think about that. Now, what if we did that with alcohol? What if they said you can do it anywhere? You can drink alcohol while you're driving. You can drink alcohol, while you're watching kids at a daycare center. You can drink alcohol anywhere. People would be outraged. That's marijuana in New York State. It is literally legal to consume everywhere because of edibles, which, by the way, is a huge portion of that sales.
Wow.
So there is no restriction.
So it's really going to boil down to one thing, and that's personal responsibility.
Yes.
And in some cases, people use poor judgment. Fortunately, I know many people that use marijuana, and they're very responsible. They do it appropriately. But it's the same old problem is when you get the people that don't, and then we have issues.
It was a very long and painful journey to reduce drunk driving in the United States.
Oh my
okay?
gosh, yes.
It took us years. We're now going backwards because of this marijuana law. It is much easier to be stoned and drive. You shouldn't. It's the consequences are far less. It's very difficult for the police to establish that a probable cause to do an investigation. If you have a bag of marijuana in the car, that's not probable cause if it's not within reach of the driver. So you get pulled over, you got a bag of marijuana, you throw it in the back seat. Now the police have no probable cause to do anything.
Thank you, Senator, for just allowing all my audience to know how to handle that situation. I wouldn't have thought that.
No. Well, what I'm saying is that because of this social justice agenda, we went backwards.
Oh wow. All right. Moving on. Abortion. New York State versus.
In 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes. Well, where do we stand on it? I mean, I know that they overturned it at the Supreme Court, and then the states all did their own.
Yeah. So here's what this is what I tell people. Nothing has changed in New York State.
Okay.
The overturning of Roe versus Wade, which was the Dobbs decision, it was about states' rights. It was about the fact that the United States Constitution does not provide anywhere for the protection of abortion rights at the federal level, and that's really what that was about. So what they said was it goes back to the states.
Okay.
So in that case, in New York State, nothing has changed. Okay. That doesn't mean that the rhetoric isn't ramped up. It has. We're going to pay for people to come from other states and have abortions in New York State, and there's a fund that was created by the governor that we're going to millions and millions of dollars for I guess abortion tourism is for lack of a better term. So, but the bottom line is nothing, and I mean nothing, has changed in New York State when it comes to those rights that were there.
Because we're seeing obviously all different states. Up, down, this way, over the way.
Yes.
It's all over the place. But I just wanted to clarify.
And I'm glad you brought this up because that's important. At the end of the day, it is about states' rights. It is about what the Constitution of the United States speaks to or doesn't speak to, and that's what that decision was. So nothing has changed in New York State. In states that wanted to make those changes, there are changes being made. But in New York State, there has been no change that was impacted by the Dobbs decision.
All right, we have 2 minutes left, and you know where I'm going to go with the Gateway Project that I promise you, and everybody knows this. Every time I see you, I ask you about this because it's something we've talked about, and we both have endeared closely to our hearts.
So we are still passionate about the idea of creating a gateway in Ripley, gateway to New York State. We had that wonderful study done when I was still county executive.
It was great.
And we've renewed those conversations. The pandemic definitely slowed that down. But we're renewing those conversations. We've had some recent conversations, and I'm hopeful. We're not letting that dream die, and I'm hopeful that we're going to make that happen someday. And now, things are even better in making the conditions are even better in Ripley for this to occur. You have Love's Travel Center now.
Lots of water and sewer.
Yes, exactly. The great investment by the town to bring water and sewer to those areas. So it's an even more prime opportunity, and we're going to continue to advocate and push for that.
George, we have about 45 seconds left. People that are watching right now might say, well, I want to talk to you, or I want to get a hold of you. What's the best way to get a hold of you if they have a concern?
There's a number of ways. You can certainly find me on Facebook. If you just look up, Google Senator Borrello, Senator George Borrello. You can call my office. Our office number is our main office 716-664-4603, and speak to one of our friendly constituent services folks. You can email me at Borrello, BORRELLO @nysenate.gov.
There you go. All right. Folks, you've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise, and my good friend George Borrello has been my guest once again.
Great to be back.
And we are going to have you here on our 500th show in 2024.
Yep.
That's the plan. And we wish you the best in your endeavors in Albany, and keep up the good fight on whatever it is you're fighting.
Thank
but
you.
also the things that you support. And wish all of you a great 4th of July. Be safe. Be careful with the fireworks, people. I've had things blow up on me. Yes, I said it out loud. I have all my digits, but it's easy to happen. So anyways, be well, be safe, and have a great weekend. Take care now. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.